Welcome, everybody, to the Fighting and Finance podcast. I'm your host, Parsa Vahid. I am joined today by Dante Schiro. Is it Schiro or Shiro?
Damn, yeah, that's pretty
Schiro.
good. Usually people say Shiro.
I was going to say Shiro, but I watched your fights and I heard the announcer say Schiro. So.
Oh, they even got it right.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks so much for being on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it. I know Cody came up to us after sparring on Saturday and said I should meet you, and we hit it off. I think we came to me yesterday. I saw you post sparring and got to know you fairly well, and I would have liked that conversation to almost be on the podcast because I feel like I got to know you very well. But here we are. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I want to start off by talking about what we're talking about off air, which was that last fight, and just how you are able to handle a loss like that. Because in my limited experience in fighting, I know that this fucking sport is so mental. It's so incredibly mental. You seem very mentally strong, but I've only known you for a couple days now. How do you handle a loss like that? What goes through your mind? Obviously, I know it's gonna fucking suck. You know, you have to sulk in that suckiness, but how do you come out of that? Can you kind of just walk me through that?
I guess there's kind of phases to it, I think. And like we talked about before, I don't know how to put it in like a step-by-step how to deal with defeat, process. But I generally, my first thought, I remember my very first thought, besides like asking my coach, should I get choked out, was like, is my wife okay? Where's my wife? Because it was overseas one. She's in the crowd by herself. We don't have family there, nothing. Like, so she's by herself, and she has to see like her husband be unconscious for I don't know how long I was out, but like for a while, you know, like practically sees a dead body. And so like for me, I already put her through enough being in this sport. It's like that's the last thing I want to have to like put her through there. So that like initial, like, okay, is she okay? Does she see me that I'm okay? Like I need to like settle that first. And then it sucks. I fucking lost. You know, I spent all this time training, preparing for like this little 15-minute block to have some success and to build upon that. And when it doesn't pay off in that 15 minutes, it really does suck. And like kind of go through ups and downs. You know, you're kind of sitting there. Like we had a lot riding on this last fight. We had a lot of plans, like as far as like finances go and like moving on to the next step in our like lives. And, a lot of that gets put on a halt because like I didn't pull through. So there's a lot that like kind of weighs on my shoulders, but at the same time, like it's life. I'm going to lose. I'm probably going to lose again at some point, but that's obviously never the plan.
You're right.
Like I'm always preparing to win, but I have to be able to deal with the reality of like the worst case scenario happening, So there's a whole process to it, the ups and downs, and like eventually like now I'm over it. You know, I got to move on to the next one and figure things out from there.
Well, I don't even know what I would call myself. Like, I'm not an amateur fighter, but I'm such a huge fan, and I train enough I feel confident, like being able to see certain things in fights that maybe a casual fan may not see. And you were dominating that fight, in my opinion. You were, first round definitely went to you. You were landing some really good calf kicks. He did try to put that same choke on you. I felt.
He did, yeah.
He did, right? Yeah. So stepping back away, like, are there certain things that you can walk away from that fight saying, I did certain things really well, and I shouldn't hang my hat so much on the loss? Or what kind of goes through your mind in that component of it?
There's plenty to still take away. There was still, I don't know how many, 8 minutes of fighting time, which you can learn a lot in that. And I feel like I did. I learned a lot in some sort of like step-by-step technical things, some overall fight tactic perspectives, and also just like life things in general. Like there's a lot to take away from that fight. And like you said, like I think I was winning too. I think I was on track to like a dominant win, if not like potential finish. I was in a fight-ending position until literally, but he had some crafty thing that I've never really seen before that he kind of pulled out of his ass, and kudos to him, it worked. I don't really have like there's no excuse as to what happened. It's just like little technical errors that I made that if I would have been more sound about, probably wouldn't have ever been in that position. But, you know, that's like something that I learned from.
Well, before you came, I rewatched that fight, and it's interesting because in his corner, I forget his name, Conor McGregor's coach.
Yeah.
John Kavanagh?
John Kavanagh. Yeah.
John Kavanagh wrote a book called Win or Learn.
Yeah.
And I've never read the book, but the title is so valuable to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you learned a lot from that fight in terms of what you just mentioned. But I want to go back to your wife because I know that, you know, being a married man, that's a huge component. Back in 2020, a dad, just a normal guy running a business. I ended up signing up to have an amateur fight. It didn't end up happening. I got injured. But I remember how important it was to have my wife support me in that. And it took some time. It took some time because she was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
You want to fight somebody?
Yeah.
You got a little 1-year-old and so it took some time, but my wife is a very supportive. Like I don't think I would have been where I am in life today without her pushing me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to have.
It is. How important is it in your life to have your wife in your corner and supporting you?
Like unmeasurable, honestly. Like like you said, when you were talking about like when you were going to have your amateur fight, I remember when I started to get into fighting. And me and my wife, we've been together forever. We've been together since we were like 15 years old.
Wow.
We're 28 now, so like over half our life. You know,
you never hear that. I've never in my life heard of like a high school sweetheart story.
Oh, really?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, now you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been together forever. So like, she's my ride or die, and she took the more traditional route. Nothing against that. Like, she went to college. She's a nurse. Amazing person. She's like a perfect person for a nurse. She's the most caring, like loving person, loves to like give. And I was in college and that it just was not for me. You know, like I just wasn't the academic type kid, but I loved athletics and stuff. And eventually my path led me to like mixed martial arts. And I remember my first amateur fights, it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you want to fight? Like, okay, it's cool. Like, we were still young enough to where it was like, cool, you're going to fight. But it's like, what are you really going to do?
Right.
You know, what else are you going to do? And it's like, well, no, this is what I want to do. But you're not getting paid as an amateur. You're making a little bit commission here, maybe a couple $100, maybe some off sponsors. But, you know, I had 7 or 8 amateur fights. And that went, I think that was like a couple years span where it's like, I have to show her that like I'm committed to this, and
You're
like
right.
I have to keep convincing her that like, oh no, it'll pay off eventually. Like, you go professional, you make some money, and here we are now, and like this is my career. And she's stuck with me, and she's made endless sacrifices to help like make this happen for me. And she's also like we're a team. You know, she's in on it too. Like, I think we have our ups and downs with this because it's just such a hard thing to go through, you know, and it's like not many people are. I don't know how many fighters there are in the world, but how many, like, there's even less doing it professionally for
less
a career.
than a couple thousand in the world, I would say.
Yeah, and so I don't even know how many of them are actually married. So there's a select few women in the world who are riding along with these men, and I don't know really the men and women the other way that are fighting, but there's not many women that are in the same position as her. So it's hard for her to probably relate to people or figure out like how to navigate her own struggles and whatnot. But bless her, man.
Bless her for sure, because I know from experience it takes a certain type of woman to support a man. I mean, I was 35 years old when I signed up for an amateur fight. I had been training for 18 months. I had an athletic background. It never, because I picked the fucking wrong sport, but I was very athletic, and athletics were a huge part of my life. And I always stayed in shape. And when I was 34-ish, I picked up kickboxing. By 35, I was so in love with the sport that I wanted to fight. And, you know, I think like a normal non-supportive wife would have been like, you're not fighting. I see you come home with all these bumps and bruises, and it takes up all your mental energy and physical energy.
Go clock in.
Yeah, exactly. and I was still running my business, but I would train before work, like 5 a.m. Luckily, my coach, who's Jalen Turner's coach, was up and would do my 5 a.m. sessions. And then I would like shadow box or hit the bag after work. So I was dedicated. So she saw the dedication, and that's what she was kind of grasping onto.
Yeah.
And like just this podcast itself, she was very supportive. She's a journalist. She helped in kind of picking out the lighting and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, there are ups and downs, right? But at the end of the day, like I had a couple other fighters on. I had Zach Paugo, who I'm sure you know.
Yep.
And he left being a full-time cop and all that comes with the benefits of being a cop and your pension and all that guarantee to become a fighter. And I asked them the same question. And we should really count our blessings in the fact that we have these wives that are so supportive, because fast forward 20 years down the line, we're not going to be, you know, you're not going to be fighting. I hope not.
I hope not too.
But you're still going to have that rock right next to you
Yeah.
in whatever you do in life. And I just think that's so fucking beautiful. There's only a few fighters that you mentioned who have that. Like one that really sticks out to me is Dustin Poirier. His wife has been with him since the very beginning. And
Yeah.
I don't know anything about her, but I just gravitate towards that story. Like how fucking badass is that?
Yeah, that is true. I feel like they got a good story, because I do remember watching him back, like, was it like in the WEC days? And she was around, you know, and she still is.
Yeah.
So that's like, that is cool.
Yeah.
That is very, like a very strong bond to have.
Yeah.
You know?
And I have buddies who are married, and, you know, they're probably not going to watch this because they're not MMA fans, but I know that their wives are the opposite, and their lives are a disaster.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have this one buddy who, before he even got engaged to his wife, I was like, don't do it, dude. She's not the one.
I've seen
Here
a
they
couple
are.
of those.
They're married and they got a kid, and he's fucking miserable. But what can you do as a friend? You just got to support it, and then be grateful that you're not in that position.
Yeah, you're kind of an asshole if you like say something, and then you're kind of an asshole if you don't.
Exactly.
So, whatever.
No, but my conscience is clear, because I told him at the very beginning, like,
Okay.
this is not the right one. But he'll never watch this, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But when your wife was in the stands and you did get choked out, and like when you reconvene with her, how did she take it? Like, because I can imagine I was watching it and I was like, fuck, I know that was in the history, but I'm like still hurting.
I mean, I'm trying to go back, and like, I probably as good as she could, you know, I don't know exactly what was going on in her head necessarily, because that's like in her head, you know, and yeah, we had like conversations after, but like, I'm sure some of my own emotions and like feelings clouded some of like, how I could read what she was telling me and how she felt.
Well, let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
is she well versed in MMA to know that, you know, a choke going out is not as detrimental to your health and like as a knockout?
So that's kind of like a yes and no, because also we don't really know. Like we know that we know that it's kind of like not as bad, but like how much do we really know? Because I don't know how much research has been behind that, especially when like I was out in the fashion where the ref didn't see it for 15 to 20 seconds. So who knows how, from what I know, I don't have any like residual effects, you know, like we like kept a close eye. Like, well, one of my coaches was kind of like, you know, let's just treat it like it was a concussion, you know, just because we don't know all the science behind like being out long term, you know. And from what I kind of generally know, 2 minutes is kind of the threshold to where like you would take some sort of damage, which I was nowhere near that. But it's nevertheless, it's still scary seeing somebody that you love unconscious, uncontrolled, you know, and you know, not responsive. So either way, I think that's just like a rough kind of traumatic experience. And like, dude, I'd never want to have to put her through that again. But the reality is that who knows? It may happen again. It may not happen again. Like, God willing, it doesn't. But as tough as she is, I think she's willing to, or not willing to accept it, but she's able to cope with it. I think a little bit more because of like we kind of talked about a little, because she can see like the dedication that I have for the sport. So it's not like oh, see, you're half-assing this and look what happened. So like, are you going to continue to do this? It's more like you're doing everything you can and like shit happens, you know? So yeah, I mean, it's rough, but I don't know. I don't know exactly how she feels about it, because I'm, like I said before, I think some of my emotions like kind of cloud that a little bit, because I probably have a little bit different thoughts on it, and like yeah, I don't know.
Does she come to all your fights, and will she continue to come to all your fights?
Yeah, she won't not come.
Yeah.
She has to be there. Like, it's kind of funny because like she like has so much anxiety like being there, you know, because you know her husband's going into combat and like so many things that happen, but she wants to be there. Like she loves it and hates it. I feel like she's got a little love hate with it, but like she's always gonna be my number one like supporter. She's always gonna be out there. Like there's a hilarious picture from back earlier in my pro career at one of the LFA fights. We had a big hometown show, and there's a picture of her just like hands over her mouth, screaming her ass off, like, let's go, Dante. And like, so there's a part of her that loves it, you know, but there's some brutal parts of the sport that
for sure.
You know, you can't.
For sure. I noticed when you were at the weigh-ins, you did this. Is this a Wisconsin thing?
Yeah, Madison, Wisconsin. That's just a little thing that I don't know, something to, because I moved away from home, you know, but like that's home for me. So I always want to like be able to represent my hometown and like where I came from, and I don't ever want to forget that.
That's,
you know, I feel like a lot of people kind of, you know, leave, and I don't like, I used to think like, oh, I'm never gonna leave, blah blah, like that's like, you know, selling out. But like, you know, you got to do what's best for you, and I think the biggest thing is just like remembering where you came from. And like if you lose that piece of you, then you kind of lost yourself. So I don't like, I'm not gonna lose that piece just because I'm not there doesn't mean I'm like not there.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And we talked about this yesterday in the fact that I'm not from here either. And
yeah,
so,
that's right.
Family and friends, there's just like, I'm a financial advisor. Numbers are very important to me. And I actually made a YouTube video of like the amount of money I'm saving moving to Denver as opposed to living in California. It was a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
Because of the cost of living, the taxes, so on and so forth. And when we moved out here, I was strictly thinking of the numbers. I'm like, fuck, man. You know, even I was born in Iran, but I was raised in LA. Like my earliest memories were started in Los Angeles, California. Like that was home for me.
Yeah.
But LA went to shit, and like starting a family and raising a family, unless you're making substantial amount of money, it's very hard to live a good life out there. And relative like to the average American, I make substantial more money, and I couldn't afford to give my family the life that they deserved there. So when I moved here, it was extravagant. Like I was like, fuck, my mortgage is less than my rent was over there. You know, this is amazing. And but fast forward, now that we've been here, I still love Denver. But fuck, man, LA is home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
LA Orange County's home, and it's not just because of anything other than just family and friends and like the roots that you build over there.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were talking, like, I do financial plans, right? Like if we were to stay in Denver, we could retire in a few years. Whereas if we move back to California, like we can't retire until I'm like 55.
Yeah.
So those are huge decisions that we have to make, but also like my parents want to see their grandkids more often. My boys that I grew up with and I've got these 30-year long relationships with, it's not the same. Like, nothing against you. I'm sure we would have been boys growing up, but like, it's not the same. I've just met you, you know?
Right.
So it's tough. And so when you did something like this, I was thinking like LA.
Yeah.
That was what was resonating with me.
That's cool. That's even like, and I think it's like even a little bit about it is like it's a little bit bigger than just like me representing Madison, Wisconsin, or like my home. Like I like that impact as well. Like just reminding another person, just like, oh, like where I miss where I came from, or like that's a piece of me too. Even though it's not Madison, Wisconsin, you're like, oh, LA. Like something about that like brings you back there,
100%.
which I think is really cool too. You know, because it doesn't necessarily have to be just me representing Madison, Wisconsin. It's more just like representing where I came from, you know, which can like is more relatable to a bigger population of people.
When you came to Denver, was there an adjustment period for you? Because you came when you were in your 20s. Like for me, it was different. I was in my 30s with the family. Like I wasn't worried about anything other than just like my family.
Yeah.
How was the adjustment for you?
As far as what?
Everything. Like
everything?
Just I don't know, finances, friends, fighting? Like, how was it? Like, was it a shit show?
Yeah.
Because you told me you moved fucking like 3,000 times.
Yeah. I feel like, dude, we could do a whole nother like podcast conversation just on the year that we moved here.
I got nothing but time, baby. I got nothing but time.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was quite the like rocky road moving out here. Definitely not as pretty as it may have seemed to other people, because what we got from a lot of people when we moved out here was like, you guys are living the life out there, man. That's so awesome. You're like in the mountains. You're chasing a dream. You're doing A, B, and C. And it was like, bro, we were Airbnb-ing out a bedroom. Me, my wife, and our dog. We were living in somebody's like just like the size of this. 3 people, a dog, moving 13 weeks of our stuff out here, because I think I mentioned before we were only going to plan on 13 weeks because that was my wife's contract, and we were going to kind of feel it out from there. And a year plus later, we're still living with that because we haven't found like an exact place that we're going to live yet. So it's like, why move everything out here until we can find a permanent living situation? But our first place we lived at for a few months, we were there, mouse infestation. The place we lived on kind of like it's crazy because it's like in the middle of the city. I don't know if you're familiar with the Berkeley area, like Tennyson Street over there. Either way, it's a neighborhood. It's not like, but there was a farm on her property, like sheep, 2 big ass like Great Pyrenees dogs, like all kinds of stuff, whatever. It was basically like a farm, but mouse infestation happens there. We can't resolve that, so we bounce out. And that was actually after we came back from our honeymoon. So we came back from our honeymoon that we postponed for a couple of years because of COVID. Yeah. And we come back, and it's me and my wife are sitting on her bed, it's hot as hell, just like look around. She's like, is that a mouse? I'm like, stop, like relax. That's just I'm like, stop, like nothing's over there. And then I see something in the corner of my eye. I'm like, fuck, she's right, it's a mouse. So a couple months later we move. We can't find a place because one of the bigger things coming out here besides training was to save money with her travel nurse contracts and like pay off all our debt. So, and rent out here it's nothing cheap, you know, like it's cheaper than some places, but it's not cheaper than where we came from.
13th most expensive state in the United.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so we can't really find a place. So we end up staying at a couple different hotels that were not the greatest. We were at an extended stay, roach infestation there. We're like, dude, we can't do this. Let's just spend the money and stay at a nicer place. So we're spending money staying at a nicer hotel, and she had a friend out here that allowed us to crash in her on her living room floor because she had a sister who wasn't moving in for another month, and we needed a month until we were going to move into our new place. So luckily we had a connection out here. We got to sleep on her floor. Which again, like at least we have a place, but we're sleeping on a floor for a month with our dog, and like don't have any of our own stuff out there. We're going to our car to like get clothes for the next day, like just ridiculous. And then finally find a new place. So we lived there for a few months, but the landlord wanted to move back into her place because it was kind of vacant, that we were just taking up space at her place. And she wanted to jack rent way up. And so we were just like, like it's not for the living situation that we had. We'd have to share kitchen, living area, all that kind of stuff. Like, let's just look for our own place. Yeah. So we found a place with one of our friends from back in Wisconsin who's also a travel nurse. So we're there right now. But it's like 6 moves later, we finally found a place. So now we're finally like just looking for something to own and like move in permanently. But we still have like very minimal stuff out there. So it's been a weird kind of like thing to navigate. I don't even remember we barely remember what it's like having all our stuff now. Like we're so used to just like, I've had the same pair of jeans. Like I've had like 2 pairs of jeans that I've just rotated through for the last like year and a half or whatever, like same shirts. But I think like me and my wife had talked about it. We think it's like a necessary struggle that we're going through, and there's tons of people who probably have it way worse. Like I'm complaining on like a small level, like it could be way worse, but at the same time, it's like, that's just our struggle that we've had since we've been out here. But on top of all that, we've also been able to do a lot of cool things out here. You know, we don't have mountains and like camping.
How fucking badass
like
are the
that
mountains,
out in
dude?
Wisconsin. And since out here, dude, oh my God, it's life changing. It really is.
Dude, I had
Like-
Corey Sandhagen on the pod.
Yeah, I listened to most of that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So Corey, did you hear the topic of the mountains? Like I started off the pod because of
Yeah,
how
but
powerful.
tell me.
Dude, so I'm a beach bum. I grew up
Mm-hmm.
always living 10, 15 minutes away from the ocean. So I surf here and there, but it's just the water. I named my daughter Daria, which means sea.
Okay.
Like the ocean is very powerful to me.
Yeah.
Whatever energy I get from it, it's very, very powerful. So when I left California, I was devastated in the fact that I don't have the ocean.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a fuck about the mountains because in California we have mountains too.
Yeah.
Like you drive 2 hours and you get like snow and you can snowboard. And I grew up snowboarding and I'm like,
Cool.
the Rockies, big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And then I came to high altitude. I saw Corey Sandhagen through Rich Morkeko, who was my holds mitts for me. And then just sparked a quick conversation with Corey Sandhagen about the mountains. That same weekend, I threw my kids in the car and I took my family up to Evergreen, which is like the beginning of the mountains.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Yeah.
But dude, we spent the day in Evergreen and I came back, both my wife and I, and it was like a stressful time of my life. Like the stock market was down and clients were complaining and this and that. And, I came back and I felt like a different human being. The same energy that the ocean gave me, the mountains gave me. And so, long story short, the mountains are so fucking powerful. And so the fact that we have them here is a blessing, man. I'm interested to hear about because I know that you go camping and you do it like right. I've got a 1 and a 3-year-old, so it's tough to take them. Like I'm not a huge outdoorsy guy, but I want to be. But I fucking, ever since then, Vail, Breckenridge, like Evergreen, every once in a while, we just love the mountains.
Yeah.
And it just gives me a certain like ionic energy when I get back. I feel like whatever stress that I was going up in the mountains just is gone when I come back down.
Gone. Yeah, dude.
Fucking powerful, man.
I love it. We like, if I could go out every weekend, I would. I like just can't with, life happens, but like we try and get out as much as we can. We actually, we have a van that we got built out. So we got a bed in there, sink, all kinds of stuff. Very, very basic, but it does the job and it like makes camping so much easier. Yeah. But we love it, dude. Like there's just something about being out in nature that you just feel so connected and like part of something huge and indescribable, but so small and like and insignificant at the same time. Yeah. But like I think there's a balance between those two opposites that like just brings you so centered and peaceful, and like I couldn't live out there just because like still got family friends that I want to see all the time and like remote, be right? I need that social interaction, but like I love that escape of the mountains and like camping and just being out in nature and living a little bit more rugged, It like takes you away from it just takes you away from the rat race,
Yeah.
So it's good to have. I think Colorado is kind of like that. It might be that like perfect balance, You have like, you could live in the city, Denver or wherever just outside of Denver, you get that city life, but you can within an hour or two be in the mountains and just hear nothing and see such a beautiful scenery.
Love it.
There's not much like it.
Yeah, we went to the mountains like 3 weeks ago. It was my wife, my 2 kids, and my nanny, and we saw 2 fucking monster elks.
Yeah.
Just like right there, crossing the street. And I was like, holy shit. Then fast forward 2 weeks ago, we took the kids to like, it was like 3 weeks ago, went to a Halloween pumpkin patch thing in Parker.
Okay.
And I decided to take Castle Rock and Castle Pines on the way home. Yeah. And we saw a little bear.
Oh, what?
So I was like, dude, we don't see this shit in LA. Like, you see fucking coyotes.
Yeah, God, fuck
and
those
fucking
things.
bunch of homeless people, but you don't see this shit. And so I actually posted it on my Instagram. And so like when I battle with myself of whether I should go back to LA, you know, deplete my entire life savings to buy the house that I could barely afford,
Yeah.
to see my friends, or fly back and see them and enjoy the fucking beauty of Colorado. So I battle with that constantly. My wife, very much like yours, has a contract. And so when her contract comes due in July of next year, we're going to kind of battle with these decisions.
Yeah, see what's best.
See what's best. But Colorado's a great fucking place to live.
I love it, dude. I feel like best case scenario, like at least for us, would be have property out here and move back home and be able to come out here whenever we want. Like that would be, you know, best case. Hopefully, you know, in my mind, that's how it's working out. Like as my career progresses, we'll have money to invest here, move back home, have home there, but be able to come back out here whenever we want to have those vacations and get in the mountains, bring family out here too. You know, like I want to share that experience with other people too, you know, because like it's only so much fun doing stuff by yourself.
For sure. Trust me. Like, I know, I want new friends, but I don't have fucking time to make new friends. Well, the fighting is the only way I've ever really met people, like people like you and you know, all the other fighters that I've had on the podcast. You know, I don't want to claim that we're friends in any way, but like you're still an acquaintance, and like I see you at the gym and we'll spar, whatever. Like it's still some sort of communication with other human species.
A small shared experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Bellator versus UFC. And I know that you're in the Bellator and you've come from the regional scene, and we briefly discussed this yesterday. But I want to really dive into it because, as you know, I'm very involved in fighter benefits and fighter pay and all that stuff. And I think that it's a fucking shame that fighters just don't get their fair share of what is theirs and what is yours. And I'm strictly a numbers guy. And when I take a look at a financial statement of the UFC, not so much of Bellator because I'm not familiar with them, but I see the revenue that they generate. I see the amount of payroll that they have. It's about 17.5%, whereas most other major sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, ranges anywhere from 48 to 54%. And I'm thinking, man, I've played very competitive soccer and very competitive basketball, and I know what it takes to be a fucking star athlete. Most of what it takes to be a star athlete is just God-given gifts. Whereas in fighting, it's not so much about God-given gifts. In fact, mental fortitude and just being a fucking true fighter will get you much farther than talent will. And so I'm thinking, fuck, it's not fair. You know, it's really not fair. And the market has dictated that there needs to be so much more revenue paid out to the fighters. But the UFC, and I respect the UFC, being a business owner myself, I respect how they were able to manipulate and buy up all the other competitors and have a beautiful situation in that they say, listen, if you want to do it, go fucking start your own promotion and pay your fighters whatever the fuck you want. We're going to do it the way that we're doing. And they're not doing anything illegal. There is litigation against them right now, and it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. But I've heard from many people that Bellator pays their fighters a more fair share as compared to the UFC. And you had some interesting things to say about it yesterday. Do you mind just kind of going into a little bit of detail as to what you see the differences are?
Yeah, I've heard that too, that like overall they pay their fighters more of a share than UFC does. Correct? Yeah. I have heard that too. What I think the big difference from my experience and like what I know is that starting out you get paid a lot better than you would with the UFC.
So UFC is what? Is it 12-12?
I think so. I know from what I've heard, like Contender Series, like technically those aren't UFC fights, but those are like 10-10, I think.
Okay.
And then like like a basic contract for majority fighters going into the UFC is 12-12.
Okay.
And I want to say that's pretty similar with Bellator, but I think I've seen a lot more fighters start out higher than that. I've seen fighters start out more around 15 or almost 20.
And what dictates that? Is it just your record, your name, your brand?
I think all that, I think all that kind of has to do with it. Also, you know, network. like who your manager is, what they can get for you. I think that's always a +1, but obviously when it comes down to it, it's like who you are, what your value is, you know, like I think as fighters, we all, the fighter pay like, discussion sometimes gets a little washy, because I think we all know we should get paid more. You know, we all know what, you know, we're worth, but I don't think we all have the same value. And I think that's where like the discrepancy can come in, but they do have more to pay. That, I think that's evident, you know?
Yeah.
But getting back to like what we were talking about, the difference between UFC and Bellator pay, I think the biggest thing is Bellator fighters generally start out a little bit better, but I think the potential for exposure, marketing, and money in the UFC is a lot greater.
For sure.
Just because of the brand. You know?
For sure.
So I think there's a lot more potential with the UFC, but as far as like, I guess you could say more secured money, I would probably say Bellator overall pays better.
And do they have the same format, show and win, or is it just a set?
Yeah, most people are show and win. I think most guys, when they get in, like bigger names or they're fighting bigger names, typically you get a flat pay.
Okay.
Which it's kind of all over the board. It's weird, dude, because like I've seen even talking about how like Bellator fighters start out getting paid more. What Bellator does a lot too is they take local fighters and put them on their shows, who honestly don't have like the greatest experience. And I've seen some of those guys get paid out $2,000, and $2, you know, which that's like a local show title fight.
That's exactly what happened to my first coach.
Yeah.
Was a regional fighter. He was like 23 at the time.
Yeah.
And Bellator came to LA and they put him on and he got 2-2.
Yeah.
He won that fight.
Yeah.
But no offense to him, but he's not there yet. You know what I mean?
Which I think that kind of just speaks to also where Bellator is at as a promotion, you know, which isn't a knock on them, but they're a growing promotion too. And so the way they save money is by getting local fighters to fight on their cards. You know, they have local fighters fill in some of those slots so they don't have to fly in all their biggest fighters and spend so much money on each card, you know.
That's a good business model. I respect it. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think overall we all could be getting paid a lot better, but I think we have to. I think everybody just has to do a better job, even including myself, increasing our value, you know, and just kind of demanding that more. Like a lot of guys, as I've grown in my career, because I don't know if we talked about this, but I got bent over by another promotion, one championship.
No, you didn't talk about it.
In a contractual deal earlier on in my career. And since then I've been pretty like, I want to read my contracts. I want to know what's going on in these contracts, because they're not set up for the fighter at all. Sure. It's all to benefit whatever promotion, which like, I think you've mentioned this before, that they're a business. They run it like a business. They don't run it like we're trying to have, you know, make the best fighters on the planet. We're trying to run a business where we just put on the greatest fights. And so I like to read into my contracts. I like to read into, you know, what other people like get paid. And like, I'm very interested in that stuff too. But I know a lot of guys who, they don't even know how many fights they have on their contract. They don't even really know what their pay structure is. And it's like, yo, this is your life. This is how you're getting your check. You know, how do you not know what fight you have next, or how many fights you have, and what your pay structure is, and who's making your deal and what they're asking for, you know?
Now, do you have a manager? Do you read? Okay, so you rely on your manager to kind of read through everything, make sure you're protected.
And I recently switched management, so I'm kind of going through a little bit of a process of like learning, like how they operate and all that stuff. But I feel like I made the right choice in that step.
I'm always fascinated by the whole management discussion because, again, I'm not a fighter. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I always try to equate it to like my personal life. And I'm in negotiations right now to purchase a business. And I just got an email with the purchase agreement. And it's it's only 7 pages, but it was written by an attorney, and I read it, and I understood like 60% of it.
Yeah.
And if I read it like 10 more times, I may know like 70% of
Right.
it. My option is to just, not spend the money, hire an attorney, and just be, okay, we've had multiple discussions with the seller. He claims he's going to do this and that. I can sign it and just send it back to him, or I have to spend 15 grand, get an attorney, make sure I'm protected for that other 30%. Do I really want to do that? And I ended up doing it just because I don't want to run the risk of anything. It's a multi-million-dollar deal. I'm fearful of like a potential caveat. But then I see interviews with people like Sean O'Malley, and he's self-managed and he's fucking killing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm questioning myself, like, maybe I don't need an attorney. Maybe I could just, watch a couple YouTube clips on like reading a purchase agreement. I could maybe do it myself, but I'm not the type of person to take on that initiative. I'd rather just pay someone. Very similar to, I just painted the back of my fence, right? I got a bid. It was going to be $950 to someone to come paint it. I was like cheap, and I'm like, I'm going to save the $950 and do it myself. After it was all said and done, I'm like, fuck, I should have just paid someone, dude. Like, I spilled paint. Like, if you go in my backyard right now, it's a disaster.
Oh, God.
I got to probably spend another few $100 to like get the paint off my backyard. So there's certain instances where I'm like, I should pay for a professional, and I shouldn't pay for a professional. What kind of goes into the decision making for you to hire a manager and like switch managers, so on and so forth?
So I think for me, I just don't want to do that shit. I don't want to have to discuss like pay. I don't want to have to, thoroughly read over contracts.
Yeah.
I want to be able to like read where I want to and like find the points that like the things that I'm looking for in a contract and be able to like trust the rest of it. I think that's what a lot of fighters they just don't want to deal with it. But I also think it's kind of just like, it's just what you do. Cause I'm sure like I'm still pretty new in the sport, like back in the day, like I don't think managers were a thing, like your coach got you a fight, or like you just were like showed up at a bar where the local show was and you were like, you fight him and you're like, all right, cool, I'll do it. So that's kind of how it worked out. Now I think it's different because like there's more money involved than there used to be.
Sure.
There's more risk involved than there used to be. And there's also just more opportunity, there's all kind of different avenues that you can take with fighting now. And I think having somebody who has experience, kind of in that area can help a lot. But I think also, I don't know, there might be a time when I feel like I don't need a manager anymore, when I've gained enough experience in the field and like contract negotiating that I may feel like I don't, because I know there's some fighters that don't. Like I think Neil Magny, I don't think he has.
Neil doesn't.
Which he used to.
Yeah, he did.
But whatever his circumstance was where he got rid of his manager, I'm sure he got to a point where he's just like, why?
Right.
I've been in the UFC for so long. I have such a great relationship with the matchmakers. I don't need a middleman to tell me what they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of where managers become useless. And it is like, if you're just going to relay what the matchmaker, the promotion is going to tell me, or like, I don't need to pay you 10% just to forward me a email.
Is it 10%? Is that what your management charges?
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard, 10%. Yeah. Like if they, a lot do like sponsorship things where if they can get you a sponsor, they'll take 20% of that. And if there's anything that you work out on your own, usually they'll finish everything up on the backside and contractually, but they won't take percentage of that because that's something you like grew yourself. Yeah. Which I think is pretty fair. Like if I'm going to bring you, $10,000 and just be like, oh, it's all for you. It's like, well, I just did this work. I think it's pretty fair. But I know I've heard of guys also like 20% for management. That's not sponsorships. That's just management.
That's a lot.
And that's where, dude,
they're not fighting.
Yeah. Most of the guys in the sport aren't making that much money, and to take 20% out of that is like, bro, paying triple taxes at that point. And like,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So what goes into a fighter's, like, once you receive your check, you got your management fee, coach's fee.
Yeah, people don't. Yeah.
What else is there? Obviously taxes.
So,
but is there anything else like gym fees?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm starting to learn a lot of it too. Like I just recently filed for an LLC and got that squared away.
Nice.
To help
offset the expenses.
Yeah, exactly, which isn't something I grew up knowing about.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought, okay, you just get paid and you pay your coaches and your gym and that's it. And then you keep the money. And then it's like, okay.
Uncle Sam wants their cut too. Right?
Yep. And you're like, I spent all that money though, you know?
That's literally what I do for my clients. Is
really?
Like try to minimize what they got to pay Uncle Sam. Most of my clients are way more balling than I'll ever be. But, yeah, there's a lot that goes into tax planning for sure.
Yeah, that you wouldn't think, and a lot of people, especially, I don't know, I don't know if I should say especially fighters, but like in a sport that's so young, you know, these aren't things that like people really think about. But yeah, I think that's another reason why we have to like really put work into growing our value in this sport as fighters, because all these expenses that come that people don't really think about, like you get $100,000 paycheck. Okay, cool. But you pay 10% out of that to manager, another 10% of that to coaches. If you have 2 corners out, let's say you have 3. So that's probably 15% to coaches, taxes, 20 to 30% or whatever. And then you have all your gym expenses from the year. And then you're left with, almost less than half.
Yeah.
And then, but that's to say if you won the fight. What if you lose the fucking fight? You know, then it's like, it's even worse. And it sucks losing the fight too. Actually, that brings us back to way earlier.
Yeah.
That's another thing that sucks too, is like financially, but also like you brought, standard is 2 coaches, you know, you brought 2 coaches with you who took time from their family, spent some of their own money being out there with you, and you got half a check. So they're getting half a check. Yeah. You know, so like that's another thing that sucks. It's another thing that like weighs on the shoulders of fighters too, but it's the reality of the sport. I think a lot of coaches understand that, you know. I think it hurts, but most coaches are, you know, they're understanding of that going out there. And if not, like they're fucking assholes anyway. Yeah. But like I've been blessed with like great.
I love your coaches, man. Yeah. I love Cody Donovan is like one of my favorite people.
Yeah, he's dope. Ever. I'm glad I got connected with him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this fighter pay thing, because it's so fucking important to me. I've said this to you yesterday, but I just, for the audience, I want to go through it again. So back in 2016, I started kind of training and met some fighters and realized in those gyms that I was exposed to. The gym that I went to was called Black House. They had a retail version, and then they had the professional fighting gym. Those 2 separate gyms, not like high altitude where everyone trains out of the same gym. Yeah. So I was training out of the retail gym for a while. Kind of just outgrew it because it was like there was like 6 people in class every day, and I didn't fucking enjoy, you know, sparring the like 40-year-old mom. Right. So I hired that Bellator fighter to be my striking coach. And he was like a 21-year-old Brazilian at the time. He's now like 25 or 26. Shout out to Miguel El Mukdisi if you're watching this. Hey. But anyway, so Miguel took me to Black House's actual gym. And I was like floored because the first person I saw when I walked in was Lyoto Machida. Hell yeah. Couple sessions later, I saw Anderson Silva. Yeah. I saw just like, you know, the who's who of MMA, some legends. Yeah. And like it was the first couple years that I was I went from being an amateur fan to a diehard fan. And then there was a fighter who's actually at PFL right now, but at the time he was in UFC. His name's Shimon Moraes. He's not very well known, but he was a bantam. No, I think he was a featherweight. And at the time he was top 15 in the UFC. And he showed up to practice in like a 2002 Honda Civic with an Uber and a Lyft sign on it. Yeah. And he had literally just fought in front of a sold out 20,000, person arena stadium. Was on the main card and won that fight. And he showed up all fucked up from the fight in that car. And I hate to like judge people on the car that you're driving, but I judged him on the car that he was driving. And I was like, fuck, man. And I asked Miguel, I'm like, Shimon doesn't have enough money to like upgrade his car or what? Yeah. And he's like, in his Brazilian accent, like, brother, we don't get paid very well.
Yeah.
And so the wheels started turning in my head, because I would go into my office, and I had just launched my firm in 2017 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I launched it with a couple really good clients. I had a surgeon who was making $2.5 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we took out a disability policy on his hands. If he can't perform surgery because he breaks his hand skiing or whatever the fuck he's doing, at least he's set for the rest of his life with this disability policy. Now, it's not cheap. It was a fucking massive, it cost him 6 figures for this insurance policy. But for someone who's earning $2.5 million a year, it's worth it, right? Because your livelihood depends on your hands.
Yeah.
I also picked up a client at the time who was, and I can't say names for obvious reasons, but he was a pretty well-known musician, and we insured his voice. Much less risk, because the odds of you losing your voice are like few and far between. But it's like in that odd circumstance that he loses his voice, we insured his like larynx and his voice so he could sing. And I was thinking, why the fuck don't these fighters have an insurance policy? Whereas if they get injured and they, you know, Conor McGregor fucks up his knees, whatever, his shin, he's out for a year, year and a half. Why isn't there no insurance policy? So because I had placed these monster insurance policies with these companies, I felt like, let me call them and say, you know, I've got these fighters. There's a void in the marketplace. Let's create this policy. It took me 2.5 years to finally get someone on the phone who was willing to look at this.
Jeez.
And it was a company out in Chicago called PFS, and they were the very first company in the 80s that started disability policies for NFL athletes when, you know, back in the 80s, NFL wasn't as big as it is now. And so they had experience creating this insurance policy. So 2018, 2019, we began these conversations. Here we are, 2022.
Jeez.
And it's not what I do every day. It's just a passion project. That's probably why it's taking so long. But we're very near to having this policy finalized. We need a few more things that I may ask you off air. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But in doing this, you know, I would call people from all walks of MMA to just try to put this policy together.
Yeah.
And there was 3 phone calls that are very important. I want to dissect them. The first one was Jeff Boris, who started this Fighters Association, and his hopes were to get the fighters benefits, higher pay, so on and so forth. And his background was with Ballingy Management, and he's a multi-millionaire representing MLB players.
Okay, I've heard of
and
that.
So Jeff, I got him on the phone. Crazy fucking story, because on his website he had a cell phone number. I went on his website and I called him. I'm like, hey Jeff, it's Parsa. He's like, who the fuck are you? Very rude. And I was like, my name is Parsa. I just want, you know, I'm curious to, you know, help fighters out, blah, blah. And I appreciate it now in hindsight, because he was a no bullshit guy. He's like, Parsa, listen to me. These fucking fighters, they're not going to do anything. I set it up perfectly for them. I had everything set up. I had a 600-person hotel room set up. I was going to fly them all out with their managers. All they had to do was sign this one association paper, and we would have got them, you know, an association, blah, blah. And he said, don't waste your fucking time. The fighters don't know what's in their best interest. That was my first conversation. 6 months goes by. I find another association called MMA FA. Gentleman by the name of Rob Macy, who is also the lead attorney in the UFC antitrust lawsuit. He's suing them for the UFC essentially being a monopoly or a monopoly, which is kind of outside of the realm of fighter pay and benefits, but it has to do with the fact that in boxing, you can't have the same promoter and ranking system.
Yeah.
So you have to have 2 separate systems.
Okay.
Whereas the MMA, the promoter is fucking everyone. They're the promoter, the ranking system, everything. And so there's a 10-year long litigation against that. But outside of that, they're also trying to set up an association. So I got Rob on the phone, very opposite of Jeff, very cordial, very corporate. He runs a law firm in Phoenix. And I'm like, Rob, you know, I've got this insurance policy. We're maybe a year away from it being finalized. If you get the association set up, I'd like to tack on this insurance policy that I've created to the association. And he said, yeah, that sounds great. But I'll tell you what, Parsa, these fighters just don't want to sign on. They're just scared of Uncle Dana and this and that. And I said, okay, well, you're the second person who's told me this. Noted. Fast forward 3 weeks ago, I tracked down Nikisa Badarian, Jake Paul's manager.
Yep.
Get him on a Zoom call. He was kind of a mix between Jeff and Rob. He wasn't rude, but he was very standoffish, just trying to figure out who the fuck I am, because he doesn't know who I am, and I understand that. He was like, "What do you exactly need from me?" And I said, "Nothing. I don't need anything from you. I just have this insurance policy. I know that you and Jake Paul have been very adamant on creating an association. This policy will need to be tacked on to an association to make it affordable." He said, "Yeah, we'd love to take a look at it." And I said, "Okay, great. Outside of that, I have a question for you, Nikisa. What makes you think that you're going to be able to get fighters to sign on to this association when these other 2, maybe 3 other potential associations fell to the wayside because no one wanted to sign it?" And I don't, in Nikisa's defense, I don't know whether he genuinely didn't have a plan or he just didn't want to divulge his plan to a random guy who fucking looked him up on LinkedIn and got a hold of him. But he said, if the fighters don't sign, then, it is what it is. And I was like, Again, either you don't have a fucking plan or you're just keeping it close to the hip, which I respect. Well, time will tell. But this long story is to just kind of set this question up for you. Yeah. We talked about it yesterday. My thought process was, in order for the fighters to get more pay and benefits, they either have to do one of 2 things. Either one, they have to strike, which I don't think is going to happen because just too many moving parts. Or 2, they have to sign on to an association. And we only need about 30 to 40% of the roster to sign the association in order for it to be recognized by the National Labor Board. Okay. And once it's recognized, then you can go up against the UFC or go up against the Bellator as an association and then negotiate your terms. Why would you sign on to an association knowing that the association is here to help fighters, again, go and get better pay, better benefits, more guarantees built into your contract, so on and so forth. So like, as a fighter, what do you look at to say I do want to sign, or if like I don't want to sign?
I don't know. I guess I've never been like straightforward asked that question, I guess, or like really put too much thought in it. But I don't know. To me, like right now, I don't see why you wouldn't.
From what I've been told,
what have you heard?
I asked this question to every fighter that's been on. Like Neil Magny had a very good response. Neil said, like Donald Cerrone, TJ Dillashaw, they all tried to set one up, and they failed miserably. And he said the reason why I wouldn't sign is because it was just too all over the place. Like the association was presented, it didn't have like stable grounds. We later found out that some of the fighters that set up the association were trying to claw back money, and so that's why we didn't. Another fighter, I won't name his name because he asked me not to, but he said it's because I'm afraid that the UFC will shelf me if they ever find out that I signed on to this association. Fair. Yeah. And I said, well, we would provide full confidentiality, meaning you sign this, no one will be able to know that your name is here other than the labor board. Now, of course, if there's a fucking whistleblower, I can't help you.
Then it happens, yeah.
But all we need is 30%. And I'm like, as a guy who goes to the gym and spars and knows how fucking insane it is to be a fighter, and all I really want to do is help you guys. I'm like, at the same time, like I resort back to Jeff Boris, who's like, fuck these fighters. Like if they don't want it, then fuck them. And I'm like, there's a certain part of me that's like, dude, you guys have the power. Band together, go up against the UFC, say we're not going to fight unless you give us X, Y, and Z, and see what happens. Yeah. But what likely will happen is the UFC will say, okay, you 30%, we'll just come in and we'll fill you in with other fighters who are willing to take your spot. So it's a fucking complex situation.
Yeah, it really is. And it is more complex. So like, I feel like as you get into it, but I don't see how there isn't enough people that want to hop on board with it, But like you said, obviously there's, that void will get filled by people because there's always, I don't know if it's similar to other sports, and maybe it's because the sport is still so new.
It's very new. That's for sure one big piece.
Who knows 15 years from now if like you or whoever else is working on this stays persistent with it, what will come from it then?
In 15 years, I can almost guarantee that things will improve for the fighters.
Right.
My thing is I don't want to have to wait 15 years, right? So
you need people like you trying to hop on it now and get it done now.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't happen.
Yeah. The way that I look at it is like, as I've mentioned many times before, I'm a finance guy. So when for example, the business that I'm buying, I take a look at the numbers. This is how much their revenue is. This is how much their expenses are. This is their net revenue. And based on that, I'm willing to pay a multiple to buy that business. The UFC was just sold multiple times. They sold a certain stake in 18 or whatever that, and they sold another portion like in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
So based on that, as well as Rob Macy's conversation that he had with me, and the litigation that he proposed against the UFC, numbers were put out to be public. And I dissect those numbers.
Yeah.
And as a numbers guy, it's plain as fucking day to me.
Yeah.
The market has spoken. The market says that the UFC generates well over $1 billion in revenue. They're only paying up $178 million of that to their fighters. That number should be closer to about $400 to $500 million to their fighters.
Yeah.
And there's a huge discrepancy there. And let's just use percentages. It's 17.5% as compared to the NBA, which is 52, 48, which is the MLB, 54, which is the NFL, 50, which is the NHL.
Wow.
And in 2011, there's precedence for it. In 2011, the NBA players joined together. They said, "Fuck you, we're not playing, we're not hooping." Obviously, they've got millions of dollars to sit on, and they can, it's a much different situation.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they struck. They had a lockout. It lasted about half a season. The players got together. They had a representative, which I would hope would be me or someone like me. It doesn't have to be me, to negotiate on their behalf. And they got what they wanted. It wasn't so much about like payout. It was other components. It was like luxury tax and roster pay.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was still bargaining tactics.
Right.
Now, when I look at the UFC and I know the finances behind it, they just sold to a parent company. And when you sell a company, and I know this because I'm about to buy one, you have debt obligations. You don't just pay $1 billion up front. Like if it's $1 billion sale, you may pay $200 million up front, and the other $800 million you have to carry over 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to pay that back.
Right.
And the UFC is paying that back right now.
Yep.
So they have these massive debt obligations. So as much as I respect the UFC as a business, I look at it as a business owner. And if the fighters can get together and they say, we will not promote your product because we are the product.
Right.
And you will not be able to generate revenue with your fight nights and your pay-per-views. Within 3 months, they will not be able to pay back their debt obligations. They will have to come to the negotiating table.
Yeah.
And so knowing all this, I want to fucking regurgitate it out to the UFC roster and to Bellator, maybe not so much because they seem to take care of their fighters a little bit better, but just to the UFC. And I want to be like, guys, come on. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
But there's so much reluctancy and so many failed operations. So I'm always interested to hear from fighters, like what can I do to help spread the message, or what can I do differently to make them understand? Or maybe, Parsa, there's no fucking way. You just got to wait the 15 years.
Yeah.
It's like, what would you say to that?
I think it regardless is going to take time. But I think like we said, like in reality, it's like one of those things where in reality it's going to take some time, but you need people like you who are kind of like a little bit crazy about it, like I need this to happen now. I need people to hop on this now, because you need that persistence and you need that like enthusiasm about it. But I think it can be tough because you're talking to and this is just my perspective, but you're talking to kind of a group of for lack of better terms, like degenerates. Like think about the people who got into fighting and why they got into fighting. A lot of them got into it because they don't have shit else.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, and so like a lot of us have trust issues already. A lot of us have been fucked over by the place we're at already, like many times, and they've heard, not to say this is a sales pitch, because I don't think that. I think this is a huge thing, and I think it's going to grow and gain more traction over the years, even though it's kind of like died down a little bit. Like somebody's like you is going to bring this conversation back up, and it's going to spark even more, especially with like social media and podcasts and how quickly things spread now. But I think there's a little bit of like we've heard things like this before and it just like fell through again. But I think what really needs to happen to make it somehow has to resonate with people who have a name, or like people who are in the top 10. Like if you could get like the top 10, top 15 fighters in each division and get a few of them on board, and them to get other fighters on board, I think that's the biggest thing. Hearing it from another fighter, is kind of what it is going to resonate a little bit more, because like even like a few minutes ago when you asked me the question, like, why wouldn't you do this? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. To me, it sounds good. At first I'm like, I would sign away on this. And then I'm like, but maybe I should think about it, because none of my other peers have, you know, or like they're hesitant on it, or like, what is their perspective? So there's always that kind of hesitancy with I think people who are fighters, and just like the personalities that are in this sport, to where I kind of said before, like a lot of us are in this sport because we didn't really have another option.
And I get that too. I've thought about this, you know, I've thought about, you need the big names. Here's the problem with that. When you're the big name making the big bucks, you've paid your fucking dues. That's right?
True. Yeah, you're like, I don't want to
put in. Now you're making money. Now, do you want to put that on hold or in jeopardy? So I'm like, I've explored all these routes. Trust me. I'm like, should I? Because like I'll see Justin Gaethje and Kamaru at your gym, and you know I don't have the balls to go up to him now because I don't have a set plan. But I was thinking like if I can get those people on board, but then they would have no fucking reason to get on board. They paid their dues. They've been in the sport for 15 years. So I've thought that that's not the best avenue. It's the law of large numbers, the power of an aggregate going up against, you know, UFC. I think that's the best plan of action. That's going to require 30, 40, 50% of the roster.
Yeah.
I'm having these one-off conversations, and you just said something that I didn't think of, and every one of these conversations opens up my eyes to a potential new avenue. That's kind of why I started the podcast too. But inevitably it will happen. The sport's 25 years old. It's very young, but as a numbers guy, and strictly speaking from numbers, and the fact that like I've met the fucking most awesome people in the sport. Yeah. And like, it's not like I played basketball with some NBA players. Like we went to the same, it's not the same. Fighting is different, man, you know? And so I have such a soft spot for fighters that I'm like, fuck, there has to be something. And persistence is my fucking name and my, you know, my middle name. Like I will not give up. I don't give a fuck what happens. Good. And I learned that from fighting. Also just like sales and this and that. But you can knock me out, knock me down. Like I'll still come back. And so I've been knocked down multiple times. I've called multiple insurance companies and they're like, you want to insure fighters? Go fuck yourself. Yeah. I'm like, okay, pick up the phone. And again, I've had hundreds of phone calls. So it's not so much about persistence. I want to get through to the fighters, and I want them to know, like, I'm on your side. There's nothing in this for me. Like, I'm not getting anything. There's no commission I'm going to get if you guys get more money. There's no notoriety that I'm looking for. I just want... the way that I look at it is, if you're a fighter, you're 35, 37, and you've dedicated your life to fighting, and you've been in the UFC and you've had like 20 some odd fights, you should be set for life. No ifs, ands, or buts. But I see a lot of these fighters who are 35, 40 years old. They've had 20 fights in the UFC, and like, they are not set for life. Nowhere near set for life. That may be partially because they didn't invest their money very well. But more oftentimes than not, they just didn't get enough money to begin with. And so when I see a financial statement from the UFC and I see how much money is being generated, and I see their cost being so low, and a lot of that pay is not going to who it really deserves to be going to, it fucking breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off too, you know what I mean? But, persistence, having these conversations, I will eventually find a way. I have no doubt. I just hope it doesn't take 10 more years.
Yeah.
I hope it happens in the next 3 years.
I know.
You know?
I think the same thing. Just, I think keeping having the conversation, because like I haven't ever sat down with anybody and had like this long of a conversation about it. It's always been like maybe a few of us talking, about it, and it's just like, oh man, we really should like have some sort of insurance policy, blah blah. Yeah, I know, shouldn't we? Yeah, but fuck it, whatever. That's usually how the conversation goes, or
100%.
It's
and like that insurance, that's another component. So part of my firm, which is called Strand Life Financial Group, is I help individuals with their finances, and then my staff handles benefits for corporations. So we have a company, 500 employees. We do their 401k plan and we do their group health insurance. So I know group health insurance better than anyone that you can think of. I know all the ins and outs. Insurance, like health insurance, should not even be on your guys' radar. In my opinion, I'll tell you why. A good health insurance policy for you is maybe $700-800 a month. Like an average one will be like 400, but you can get pretty shitty health insurance for like a few $100 a month.
Okay. Yeah.
If you extrapolate that over the year, that's like anywhere from 2 to like 10 grand. Right. Fuck health insurance. You guys should want double your pay, triple your pay, because in order for you guys to get health insurance, you need to be classified as W-2 employees, not independent contractors.
Right.
You don't want to be employees, because if you were to be employees, then you're really fucked, because the UFC or Bellator would own you. They would tell you where you have to be, what you have. I mean,
it'd be,
they already do with like all these media obligations, but they would control you and they would have control over you. So you still want to have that independent contractor role, which would forego your health insurance benefit. But who gives a fuck? Even if it's 10 grand a year, that's a drop in the bucket of like tripling your income off of fighting.
True.
So that's one component. And then the disability policy that I'm working on, that's a way to guarantee your contract. So how it would work is, let's say, God forbid, let's not even use you as an example.
Okay.
Let's use Conor McGregor as an example. But obviously he makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Or you know what? The best example I think is Tony Ferguson.
Okay.
Remember when Tony tripped over that wire and fucked up his knee before the Khabib fight?
Yeah.
Perfect example. When you pull out of a fight, whether it's 2 minutes before or 2 weeks before, you don't get that fight paycheck, right? Whether it's due to injury or illness or whatever.
Right.
If you don't fight, you don't get the paycheck. My surgeon, if he doesn't perform surgery, he doesn't get a paycheck. But if he gets injured, he files a claim with the insurance company. He shows them proof of injury, whether it's an MRI result, an X-ray, or doctor's notes.
Right.
The insurance company accepts that. They say, okay, you qualify for insurance. You now get 70% of your income for however you structure the policy.
Yep.
For my surgeon, it depends on his injury. If it gets his hand cut off, he gets it till his age 65.
Okay.
If he breaks his hand and can't work for 2 years, he only gets the benefit for 2 years.
That portion, yeah.
Same thing. We structured it the same way for fighters. It's not, and the insurance company said, like, how are you going to prove this to us? So obviously I know insurance and I know how fighters are. So I said, listen, we're not going to insure fighters if they roll their ankle or they have a sore elbow or it's for catastrophic injury where you can't fight for about a year to 18 months.
Yeah.
So for Tony Ferguson, although he came back like 6 months later because he's a fucking
psychopath,
lunatic, he probably should have been out for a year, right?
Yeah.
And so in that example, we would take his last 2 years of tax returns. We would give him 70% of that, which is pretty much what he would get, because that 70% is not taxed. So you're pretty much getting what you would have gotten. Here's the thing that it does for fighters.
That's huge, man.
Huge.
I mean,
if you have like some sort of potential injury that you don't want to like fight through to just get that next paycheck, it makes your career more I don't know what the word is for it. Just like you're not going to put yourself in those dumb situations because you're starving for that paycheck.
Yeah.
And then also, if you do get injured, you know that, fuck it, like, I'll be fine. I don't have to go work that oddball job or do whatever. Like, I'm a fighter. I'm a full-time fighter.
Mm-hmm.
If I get injured, I could just focus on rehab,
Yeah.
maybe watch film or do whatever it takes to be a full-time fighter.
Yeah.
And so, again, this goes back to, like, fighters don't even, in my opinion, know what they're negotiating for. Fuck health insurance. You don't need health insurance. You need these guarantees built into your contract.
Yeah.
And you need better pay. And so, like, as an advocate, I would just hope that they realize, like, at least know what you're fighting for. Like, again, health insurance, we all want it. It's great, but it's like a drop in the bucket. Like, that shouldn't even be a part of the conversation.
That kind of changed my perspective on that.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Like, sometimes, just like when you come off a loss and you have these, like, lulls and you're, like, kind of down, I go through the same thing with this fighter benefit shit. Because, like, I'm thinking, dude, I have a business to run. I got bills to pay. I got a wife and I got kids.
Yeah.
Like, these conversations, like, sometimes they get me down. I'm like, fuck, I just want these fighters to do what's best for themselves. And they don't even understand. But then the next day I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm going to continue trekking on.
Yes.
And so it's a interesting dynamic that I go through personally. But eventually, my friend, it will happen.
It will. I think it will, especially, like, having this conversation to open my eyes on it. Because like I said, the conversation I've had have been very, like, surface level and, like, not even, like, on what is really important. And you kind of even just, like, open my eyes to this new perspective of, like, seeing what is, like, the main focus and, like, what is actually more important. Yeah. Because, like, even going back on the Tony situation, I don't know if this is the exact case, but, like, he put aside the fact that he's, like, mentally, like, he seems like very mentally strong, crazy, like, work ethic type of guy, and came back in, like, 6 months. He might have done all that because he's missing out on a check, right? Dude, like, there's 100%. So many stories where fighters, you know, they get injured before their fight, and either they take it and they take it injured, like, completely compromised, or they don't take it, they miss out on that check, but then they come back earlier than they should because they need to make up for that. 100%. You know, and that definitely should not be this scenario that we're in. The best case scenario that I've heard sometimes is either they'll still give you your show money if it's close enough to the fight. Let's say maybe it was like a fight week thing, or they'll pay for whatever medical expenses, you know, like UFC, they take care of people every now and then for things like that, but that's if you're lucky. But still, okay, I got my surgery paid for maybe, and, like, the medical appointments and rehab, but still waiting on that fight check. You know, like, I didn't get that. Exactly. So it's like, really, you're still not making money. You know? Think
about Tony Ferguson's career. Now, who the fuck knows whether he would have had, let's say he took that full year off, he wouldn't have had to fight Pettis, even though he won that fight. Crazy motherfucker. But, like, what does that do to your overall career trajectory? Like, you guys have a very short window that your career earning potential is in there. You want to protect that as much as possible. And let's say instead of coming back 6 months later, he comes back like 14, 15 months later. He has this money to feed his family while he's preparing. Yeah. He comes back fully rejuvenated, no lingering issues. Who knows whether his knee, I doubt it's ever going to be the same. You don't tear an ACL and come back 6 months later and be 100%. Yeah. No matter how fucking barbaric of an animal you are, like Tony Ferguson really is. And I know intricacies of that because, again, Anthony Gonzalez, who will be on this podcast next week, was Tony Ferguson's coach. And they had a falling out, and it's public, so I'm not putting his information out there. But he would always say, like, Tony is not human. He's a weird motherfucker. And you see that on his, like, fight interviews. You see glimpses of it. Yeah. I have a buddy who used to work for Paradigm, which was the Conor McGregor / Audie's management company. And he would tell me, like, I just left a meeting with Tony. We brought a sponsor to him. Tony jumped on the conference table and declined this 6-figure sponsorship because he didn't like the way, like, the guy talked to him. And they would leave and, like, Tony, what the fuck are you doing, bro? He's like, no, they don't know my value. And so he's a fucking lunatic for sure. And that's why he's able to come back 6 months after a fight. But if he's got this insurance policy, he's not going to want to come back 6 months later, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So all this to just say, man, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. I've had multiple fighters on. I'm always learning new things.
Mm-hmm.
And and from like the business side of things, I think there's a lot of fucking vultures in this business that are in it for the wrong reasons.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I'm starting to see it too, and it's disgusting to me. But like, I'm a genuine person, and like I can be cutthroat when it comes to business, but I will never backstab or lie or do something ill will towards someone. Whereas I'm starting to see that a little bit. But if I can just get the word out, you spread the word, all these other fighters that I've had on spread the word, and just eventually it will happen.
Yeah. It's definitely a conversation that I want to continue to have.
Awesome.
You
Yeah.
know, like I can already see, like, I've taken in a lot of information now, but I can already see, like, going back home or like a couple days later, like, oh, I wonder about this though. Like, what is it, like, how would this work? Or, you know, there's going to be questions that pop up.
Hit me up.
You know, yeah, that I'm definitely going to want to like bounce off of you and like continue to have with other fighters and get their perspective, you know, people who even are newer in the sport and see what they're thinking, or people who have been in the sport and see like where they come from on this topic too. Because like I said, it's hard. Like, I've never really had that conversation with anybody, especially somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
it's been 6 years. My very first phone call to an insurance company was 2016. In 2019, I had someone fly out to London for me. So the backstory of the insurance policy is we're backed by Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London, if you haven't heard of them, they're the obscure risk carrier. So like the entire insurance backstory is like back in the 1700s, the trade route from England to India where they would sell their tea. There was a couple boats that fell over and they lost all their cargo. So Lloyd's of London was the very first insurance company ever created in history to insure that, like, that tea.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So now Lloyd's of London is like a 200-year-old company, but they're not like Geico or State Farm. They only do these obscure risks. And so when we facilitated this insurance policy, we had someone fly out to London on my behalf and pitch it to them. And we said, you know, here's why there's a void in the market. And we haven't finalized it because they're looking at it from a profitability standpoint. They're like, obviously fighters are going to get injured. Like, we don't want to have to pay out fucking claims every week. Yeah. So I had to go back and forth with them and say, okay, listen, it's not going to be every injury. It's only going to be certain injuries. We're also going to have the claims form be very structured. So like, let's say you dislocate a shoulder, but the doctor says like you can pop it back into place and no surgery is needed. You can get back to competition in 6 months. Well, sorry, you're not going to get your insurance money. Yeah. But if someone, like the doctor says like this person can't compete for 12 or more months, that's when the insurance policy will pay out. So like we make it feasible from the insurance company's perspective, but we also protect the fighters in the best capacity that we can. Right. So we technically have this policy. It's official. I want, like, see that 40 for 40 sign up there? Yeah. I won that because I literally created this. The problem is it's too expensive because they just don't know how to price it. They don't have a claims data. So I've been hiring like all these research firms to try to compile injury data and submit it to them. It's like fucking so much work. But if we can fine tune this avenue of it, I think we're going to get to the finish line like maybe Q2 of 2023. Yeah. And then that's when we can tack it onto an association. Jake Paul, marketing genius. I would love for him. And it seems like because he's boxing, like he also has a soft spot for fighters. But at the same time, he's Jake Paul. Like you never fucking know whether he's just doing it for
just a gimmick.
Yeah. Or if he's genuine. Like I don't know. But like there's no better platform than him to tack it on to like his carrot and lure in fighters. Hey, sign here. Yeah. Your confidentiality is protected. You're going to go up against your boss, but no one's going to know. But here's why. You're going to get better pay and you're going to get more guarantees built into your contract. Fuck health insurance. Like, don't worry about that. You're going to be able to pay for your own health insurance with all this extra money that you're getting. So, yeah, man, that's just, again, the reason why I kind of started a podcast. I love fighting. I love fighters. I fucking love finance too. And so fighting and finance, that's kind of how
says it on the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To wrap this thing up, man, I just want to ask you. So you've got one more fight on your contract with Bellator. Hopefully it happens, Q1 2023?
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah.
You get that dub. What do you want for the next, you're 28? The next 7 to 10 years of your career? Like, ideally, how would you like that to all pan out?
So I've had this conversation a few times, and it looks like there should be options after I win this fight. It's kind of dependent on where I kind of see myself at that time. I think it's hard to know, because I just, like, right now I'm just focused on, like, the win is what I need.
Yeah.
I just need to win. But after that, it's like there could be options. You know, I might have to string together, if Bellator doesn't offer me to renew my contract and, like, give me something that's worth staying, win a couple more fights on the regional scene, which shouldn't be a problem.
Sure.
I could crank that out before even the summer.
Sure.
You know, and then,
well, let me stop you there. Can you? Because who's going to want to fight you? Like, how would you find an opponent?
I think I could, just because I think the way my last few fights have gone, you know, I was kind of lost. Even though
if they watch those fights, they're gonna know, like, you can fucking scrap.
Yeah, yes and no. But also, like, there's a lot of up and coming fighters they're like, oh shit, he's fought for one championship.
Oh,
he's fought for Bellator. Perfect. You know,
Gotcha.
he's lost and won. So, you know, they're probably looking at that as, like, he's not as consistent.
I see.
You know, so like, to me, I would hop on that opportunity if I was an up and coming fighter. But hopefully, you know, best case scenario, I can crank that out, and then I have options. And then that's kind of like where it starts to be like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to stay with Bellator if they offer me something? Do I want to go to the UFC where there is the biggest potential, and to fight the best in the world? Because ultimately that's why I got in this sport, is like, I want to fight the best in the world, and I also want to make a living off of it and set my family up for a future. But there's also, now that sport's growing, there's also the PFL option where, you know, you fight in this sort of season format, which is pretty nice if you think about, like, work-life balance. You know, you have this season where you fight, potentially win $1 million, and then you have an off season. Which is a pretty good structure, but there's cons to that too. You know, you get to the tournament, you win a fight, and you lose a fight. Well, fuck. You're not fighting again until that season, you know, if they want you back. So there's kind of some things I got to juggle, and, like, continue to conversations that I have with my coaches and manager, and see what the best option is. But right now, win that next fight, you know, and that's kind of all that's on my mind. Just win that next fight, and then we'll see from there.
Nice,
you know?
man. Well, I'm excited to see your career. I'm going to obviously come in the gym as often as I can, and I've seen you spar, and I've seen you fucking do work, and I have nothing but high hopes for you. So
thanks, man.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. I really do appreciate it. And please do come back on once you have that the next dub.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Boom.